Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Truth. I'm your host, the one you love the most, Niall Heston, back with a brand new episode here on The Truth, back once again with my brother Lucas. And today we are shifting gears to first base. I feel like these are always more fun as we transition to like a lot of position flexibility, but also your big time power guys, and the big time power bats and first basemen are definitely ones that can do so. So today we're going to continue with giving you guys our 10 top first basemen, as well as giving you guys kind of a breakdown on 6 of those guys. They are kind of randomized. There is some strategy behind it, not really, but I just try to find guys either that we've talked about or guys that we haven't talked about that I think could make an impact, or Lucas thinks that maybe they can make an impact this year. And yeah, so that's why we're going to do it once again. I'll read you guys our top 10 first basemen. First things first with Lucas. He's got Vlad Guerrero at first, Bryce Harper 2, Freddie Freeman 3, Matt Olson 4, Christian Walker 5, Pete Alonso 6, Josh Naylor 7, Tristan Casas 8, Vinnie Pasquantino 9, and Luis Arraez 10. And again, the biggest thing with positions when we do these is they might be a primarily first baseman, they might be a secondary. Wherever they're eligible, we're definitely going to be talking about them here. For me, I have Bryce Harper at 1, Pete Alonso at 2, Freddie Freeman at 3, Vlad at 4, Matt Olson 5, Josh Naylor 6, Paul Goldschmidt 7, Spencer Steer 8, Yandy Diaz 9, and Jake Berger 10. And Lucas is trying to hold in a laugh as best he can, which will be fun and exciting. And which name made you laugh? I was reading off my list, I couldn't see.
It's not really. I remember you love Paul Goldschmidt, and I was very happy to hear Spencer Steer, Twins legend, mentioned.
Yeah. And I always feel like too, like I don't look at your list before I make mine, but it's always funny when I read how your list is like completely different than mine. Um, I guess great minds don't think alike, so whatever. But anyways, today I've highlighted your 7, 8, and 9 guys, so I'm looking forward to hearing about those guys. First things first, go ahead and talk about your number 7 guy.
Yeah, number 7 guy for me, happy he's finally out of Cleveland, is Josh Naylor. He always put up really good numbers. I just remember ever since he hit the grand slam against the White Sox in 22, he just really kind of took off from there. And I think he's still a really underrated player. I mean, last year he had 27 doubles, 31 home runs, 108 RBIs in the middle of that terrible Guardians lineup, 58 walks, 205 strikeouts, hit 243, 324, 56, slugging percentage to 776, OPS. 2023 even, he had a great year. He hit over 300 in 2023. Again, he did miss around 40 games, but still, hitting 31 doubles, 20 home runs, hard RBIs, that'll do. And especially when the Diamondbacks have to fill a position left by Christian Walker at first base, he's someone that's really exciting. And he's produced, again, as I mentioned, like the past 2 years, but he's a career 262 hitter. And at the first base position, kind of similar to the catcher position, has kind of evolved from just a power hitting position, which it still is. But I guess it's just the game in general. But people are getting on base more. People are hitting the ball harder, hitting the ball farther. And that's why Josh Naylor really excites me. And again, he's playing in a really exciting Diamondbacks lineup that is going to get on base a lot, going to provide a lot of RBI opportunities. The question is, can he stay healthy? I think he can. He's not remarkably old. I mean, he's 27, which is, I'd say, the prime of his career. Again, spring training, he's hitting 455 and 22 at bats. Doesn't really matter unless it's the Twins, but still, having a good year. I expect a lot of big things from him and just really happy that the Twins don't have to watch him and his antics anymore.
Yeah, so for me, I'm going to go and talk about my number 3 guy a little bit just because it's one of those guys that I absolutely love talking about. It's Freddie Freeman. I mean, I think he's Mr. Consistency year in and year out. He's one of the best to do it. Obviously, he's 35, which at this rate, I feel like he's 38, 39. He is 35, so he's still got some length, not like a ton of length, but still got a couple more solid years for sure. I mean, he's a career 300 hitter, right? He's accumulated 343 home runs, 1,232 RBIs. He's just even stolen 98 bags. Now, you might laugh at the 98 bags, but for a first baseman, especially with his power and being 35, he still stole 9 bags last year and 23 when he was 33. So, not saying that he's going to go out and steal 60 bags, but you can get a ton of power, a ton of pop with that Dodgers lineup and still get an extra 9 to 10 stolen bases a year. Not saying that's going to happen every year, but he's shown the potential to do that. So kind of an all-around versatile guy. Last season for LA, batted 282, had 22 home runs, 89 RBIs. A little bit of a decline from his previous 2 seasons in LA, but again, 331 average in 161 games, 325 average in 159 games. you should look at the totals there of how many games he's played in and how successful he's been. He's Mr. Consistency. And I think like as time wears on and as he gets older, the numbers are naturally going to decrease. But he's age 35 right now, still producing 20 plus home runs, potential of 100 plus RBIs, potential of batting over 330 with a couple of stolen bases. I mean, those are some of the major stat categories that you're looking at for fantasy points, and I think this is going to continue. Again, the biggest thing is the fact that he's in the Dodgers lineup. He's on the field consistently, and he's a big stud that a lot of people would love to have, myself included. I'm going to be looking heavily for Freddie Freeman to hopefully kind of be that piece that I can use to kind of build my team around and having a good solidified first baseman in Freddie Freeman. All right, your number 8 guy, Tristan Casas.
Yeah, for me, of course, you said Tristan Casas. I know it's kind of unrelated, but he's just kind of a weird guy, like kind of like Zach Greinke level. I remember last year he was saying how he was hurt pretty much the end of last year, and he said he was taking swings, but then he just clarified that he was taking swings in his head, and he like paints his nails, so he's just kind of a little bit of a weirdo. But that doesn't take away from his game. Again, last year he missed 100 games. I don't remember what the injury was, but he missed it 100 games, so obviously I'm not going to go off those numbers, but 2023, he really broke out. He only played in 27 games in 2022 in his debut year, but 130 games, 21 doubles, 24 home runs, 65 RBIs, 70 walks, 226 strikeouts, 370 on base. So he's a guy kind of similar to Naylor, but not in terms of like getting power numbers. He's getting on base at a 37% clip. I mean, that's really good. He had an 857 OPS, and this was in 132 games in Boston in a very tough AL East. He really proved himself. But again, the question will be, can he stay healthy? And I think that's why some projection systems are down on him. I think the consensus is he's around a number 11, number 12 first base guy. But looking at the possibilities, I really like Casas. Again, he's young for first baseman, or I shouldn't say young. He's in the prime of his career, I guess. He's 25 years old. Again, proven himself in the minors. I know he's like sick right now with like a stomach bug, but that has no implication on the season. Only has 700 career at bats. He's hitting 250 and an 830 OPS in terms of his career. Like, those are great numbers, especially for a first baseman. He's getting on base, really exciting. He'll score your runs, he'll get your RBIs. There's just a lot of things I'm excited about. If he falls to me, because I think people might see that question mark by him in terms of his injury history, then I would gladly take him.
For me, I'm going to go to my number 8 as well, and it's going to be Spencer Steer, a guy that you were very high on because he was a twin or was in the system, right? Or what was he? Was he a twin or was he in the system?
He was in the system, and then he was part of the terrible Tyler Mahle trade that we traded away
was.
Christian Encarnacion Strand, who was my favorite player ever.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why you're so obsessed with him, but looking back at
He's
it,
amazing.
probably not a great trade on Minnesota's end, huh? Getting a little bit of time from Tyler Mahle. But that's the issue with baseball is like, it's not like you're trading draft picks. You're trading prospects. Some of them pan out. Some of them don't. And clearly the prospects panned out. I'm still waiting to see Chase Petty go win a Cy Young for Cincinnati when he gets up for the Reds as well. But Spencer Steer is who I'm going to talk about here. I think with Spencer Steer, he's one of the more hit or miss guys going into the draft. I mean, he had the power numbers, but not as good as the previous year. And he dropped nearly 50 points in his batting average, playing 2 more games last season. Batted 271 and 23 and 225 last year. Dropped 3 home runs, but picked up 6 more RBIs. Did pick up 10 stolen bases, though, last year. So kind of a big drop off there. But again, this happens to guys in their career. Like, think of, I know this is different timing, but Bo Bichette, who was a guy that a lot of people were sought out after, had a great couple starts to his years and then had a massive drop-off season. I think this could be an opportunity for him to bounce back simply because of the fact it's kind of hard to do a lot worse than he did for Spencer Steer standards. But there is some risk with that. One, he's dealing with a shoulder injury right now. I believe last time I checked, he got like a cortisone shot, hoping to kind of speed up that recovery. But I had seen a couple of days ago when I was making my list that Terry Francona said, which is crazy to believe that he's a Reds manager now, that he may begin the season on the IL or the injured reserve, whatever it's called these days. That's a potential. But if that does happen, I think that only boosts his value for your fantasy team because his ADP is going to be a lot lower depending on when you're drafting your fantasy league. So there is some risk with Spencer Steer. Guys that come back from injury typically, take a little bit of time to get adjusted to, but there's a point when Spencer Steer, if he was fully healthy, it'd be a different story. But if there's a point in the draft where like, hey, like this is the guy I can't pass up on. This is the guy that's shown what he can do, and he's still relatively young. I believe he's only 27 years old. It could be a perfect opportunity to kind of steal a first baseman, a guy that has a couple other eligibility spots, as well as just a younger guy that you can get kind of as the draft goes on. But know the injury risk, but know also the opportunity for him to basically not do worse than he did the previous year. So I think there's a lot to be excited about Spencer Steer. Okay, and then finally your number 9 guy.
Yeah, last guy for me is Pasquatch, Vinnie Pasquantino. He had a really good year last year. Numbers that stuck out to me was RBI numbers, so he's not going to get you 19 home runs is still good. He hit 30 doubles. Again, it's not really measured in a lot of roto leagues, but just in terms of bringing that slugging percentage up, 97 RBIs. But the year before was the big disappointment. I remember seeing the pass notification he was out for the year. I don't know if it wasn't Tommy John, but it was some sort of injury that was pretty devastating. So he was out for the year in 2023. Really came back with a strike, 131 games, and he had a 761 OPS, getting on base 32% of the time. You've kind of seen this trend with catchers I select. I really not catchers, first baseman I select. I really like guys who get on base but also have that little power number. And he's number 10 on number 9 on my list. And a lot of fantasy systems have him kind of closer to the 13, 14, 15 range. I really like the Royals lineup. I like what they're doing in Kansas City in terms of the general manager and how they're spending their money. I wish we would do that a little bit. But they're making the deals that they need to be done. And it's giving them success, as we saw last year. And Pasquantino is a big reason for it. He's hitting in the center of that lineup. Really exciting guys like we talked about. Michael Garcia, Bobby Witt Jr., they're getting on base for him to drive him in. And I really love RBIs, one of my favorite stats to kind of chase in fantasy. And he's going to give you those numbers. The question is, can he build off last season and continue? Because he hasn't really had 2 consecutive seasons where he's even played a lot. So can he stay healthy? Can he keep providing these numbers? And that's why I like him at number 9, first baseman.
Yeah, for my number 9, I'm going to talk about my number 9 as well, and it's going to be Yandy Diaz. I'm a huge Yandy Diaz fan. I feel like the guys that I put on my list are the guys that I just continue to draft year after year. Again, he's not a guy that's going to go hit 40 home runs. He's not the Pete Alonsos of the world. He's not one of those big time guys, but he's still pretty consistent, and that's the biggest thing that I'm always looking for in fantasy is can you be on the field, 1, for a good eclipse, and 2, can you be consistent? In his career, he's batting .288, which obviously is nice. Last year, had 14 home runs to 65 RBIs, a little bit of a drop off from that 330 average to 281. When you're batting .330, it's pretty hard to repeat that unless you're Luis Arraez consistently batting over 300. But Yandy Diaz did drop a little bit, which again, I like buying these guys that are considered lower because they're dropping a little bit. And I think Yandy Diaz could kind of pick that right back up, being in the Tampa Bay Rays system or organization, I should say, and being able to get back to that 16, 17 home runs, even 22 in 2023, and get over, 80, 90 RBIs. I know this is a Rays team that I don't even know. You can't even make a prediction for the Rays going into each year because they're either really good or really bad. I feel like last year they're pretty bad. And I think this is an opportunity for them to come back. They're not a team that's going to go sign tons of free agents, spend a lot of money. They're going to probably spend the least amount. Well, maybe not the Athletics will, but second least amount. And they're a small market team, which can concern people, especially for people like you that are chasing RBIs. But he's definitely a guy that, bottom line, is consistent and a guy that I would love to get a little bit later in my draft as my primary first baseman, knowing that some of my other positions will be addressed and will be filled. Well, thank you guys for listening to another episode here on The Truth. If you guys did enjoy it, make sure you follow The Truth on Twitter, The Truth as one, to stay up to date with the latest information regarding The Truth, including podcast dates, podcast uploads, and other important information you don't want to miss. Make sure you guys also follow The Truth on Instagram and TikTok at the.tt.truth. Are you looking to find a drink that offers peak hydration, raises your energy levels, speeds up your recovery, and keeps your mind sharp through focus and memory? Look no further than Acid Rainwater. I'm excited about Brilliant Sports AZ and Acid Rainwater, which focuses on peak hydration and productivity while also keeping an ecosystem-friendly product. Use code HESSON15, that's HESSON15 for 15% off every purchase. As always, I'm your host, the one who lived the most, Niall Hesson, joined once again by my brother Lucas. Take care and good night.